All right, stand by. 10 seconds.
Ready, camera,
Show.
one.
Count.
Ready, camera,
And
record.
cue talent.
2,
One.
1, roll for record.
Hillary says we have to believe all sex accusers, unless, of course, they're accusing her husband. I'm John Phillips, and Hillary's hypocrisy is at the top of today's rundown. Yes, former First Lady and presumptive Democratic nominee for president Hillary Clinton gave her political foes a wonderful early Christmas present when she tweeted, and I quote, "Every survivor of sexual assault deserves to be heard, believed, and supported," end quote. This was apparently a quote from a speech she gave that went largely unremarked, but on Twitter, it made a pretty big splash. Why? Because everyone instantly wondered, what about Juanita Broaddrick? Was she heard? And what about Paula Jones? Was she believed? Or how about Kathleen Willey? Was she supported? No. All were dismissed, vilified, and crushed by the Clinton machine with Hillary's consent. And what about Gennifer Flowers or Monica Lewinsky? It was apparently consensual in those cases, but Hillary certainly didn't seem to support them. Hillary's running hard on women's issues. Her website trumpets, quote, "I want to send a message to every survivor of sexual assault. Don't let anyone silence your voice. You have the right to be heard. You have the right to be believed, and we're with you," end quote. Got that? Hillary says, don't let anyone silence your voice, unless, of course, it's Hillary. Joining me to talk about all the hypocrisy is author and political satirist Scott Ott from his home studio in Dallas, Texas, and here in Southern California, stand-up comic and PJTV contributor Stephen KRUISER. KRUISER, in the first GOP primary debate, the first question out of the box from Megyn Kelly to Donald Trump was, you called Rosie O'Donnell a fat-ass pig. You called women all these other pejoratives. Are you anti-woman? If you can go there with Donald Trump from his feud with Rosie O'Donnell, given the fact that Hillary Clinton not only tweeted this but used it in a speech, should the first question to her at the next Democratic debate be, you said all women should be believed. Do you believe Juanita Broaddrick, Kathleen Willey, and Paula Jones?
It should be, but it won't be, because the salient point, as you pointed out in the intro, was that it went largely unnoticed in the speech. Had this been the shoe on the other foot again, the press would have been all over this immediately. Thank God for social media right now, once again, because this would not be noticed at all were it not for that right now. And this woman is by far the most famous enabler of a sexual predator in history. So it's the fact that she got away with this at all, the fact that nobody on the press is talking, we're still talking about Donald Trump's Muslim ID cards or something. This is still going untouched in the press. What NPR is talking about, none of it is going on, and this is just, I don't know how the Republicans don't take this and turn it into a 99.5-yard kickoff return. I really, really don't.
Scott, should it be the first question at the next Democratic debate?
You know, this is a very serious subject to me. I was a volunteer, a telephone volunteer, and then later chairman of the board of an organization called the Abuse Network that provided resources and information to women who were victims of rape and domestic violence. One of the key tenets of our training program was that women rarely, if ever, lie about sexual assault and rape. You've got to believe them at least until evidence proves otherwise. And for this alleged feminist, Hillary Clinton, to come out and essentially not only be a protector but an enabler of her husband's behavior is to say that she and all Democrats who support her are in effect saying to any of Bill Clinton's accusers, you know, she wanted it. She really wanted it. Bill didn't rape her. Bill didn't sexually assault her. She wanted it. And now she's recanting on that and falling back on that. If you did that to an utterly unknown college freshman and said, if anybody in the administration said about an 18-year-old girl, she wanted it, or did not stand up for her right to be believed when she claimed that she was sexually assaulted, that administrator would be fired from the university. Hillary Clinton should be jettisoned from the Democratic Party, if for no other reason than she is an abuser of women.
Well, that's their secondary position, to be fair, Scott. Initially, they said they're liars, that there was no sex of any kind. They said that about Gennifer Flowers. They said that about Paula Jones. And it wasn't until much later that Bill Clinton finally admitted that there was a relationship going on with Gennifer Flowers, for which they trashed her in the press for a long time.
And that's just despicable. I mean, what Republican could or would get away with that? I mean, what happens to Republicans when there are allegations like this is that they are shamed and run out of office. But somehow, this former president of the United States, who is such a despicable character that he almost ironically names his own dog Seamus. By the way, that's the name of his dog, is Seamus. He is an abuser of women. His wife wants to be president. She's protecting an abuser of women. And every woman in the country ought to reject this, ought to despise this for what it is. It's sexism, it's violence, it's assault, it's hatred of women.
You know, Hillary has to anticipate the fact that at some point this question is going to be asked, whether it's at a debate or during a Q&A on Meet the Press or wherever. What do you think her answer is going to be when someone finally asks her about Juanita Broaddrick and the other women?
I really don't know, because her MO so far has been to be very dismissive anytime she gets cornered on anything real so far. You know, to just toss it away, say it's purely politically motivated, something like that. She hasn't really answered a question about anything yet. And she gets cover in the press for it. That's what's so galling about it. I don't know how she would answer. I don't know how she could
I think Jake
answer.
Tapper would pin her down. Chuck Todd would pin her down.
I think what we've seen so far, you got a better chance of Anderson Cooper doing it than anybody else. Anderson Cooper's been the hardest on the Democrats thus far.
Okay,
So,
how about it, Scott? If her back is against the wall and whoever it is that's interviewing her doesn't let her get out of it, and they demand an answer, what is her answer to that question?
I think she starts the way KRUISER indicated, which is just basically saying this is part of a vast right-wing conspiracy. What she said, you know, when she was the first lady. It's a vast right-wing conspiracy that's trying to smear my husband. She may start off doing that. Unfortunately, her husband's already been unmasked for at least one dalliance, if not these rapes and sexual assaults. And so I think at some point she has to say, and I can't imagine this happening, but she almost has to distance herself from her husband. She has to say, look, I am seeking the office of the presidency of the United States. Every married couple knows that you can't hold a spouse accountable for what the other spouse does. You have to judge each person according to their own behavior.
And then
I'm
here's
not
the
asking you
from
to
Jake
judge my
Tapper.
husband.
Here's the follow-up. You tweeted, every survivor of sexual assault deserves to be heard, believed, and supported. Did you hear, believe, and support Juanita Broaddrick? Yes or no?
I'm suspending my campaign for the presidency of the United States of America.
See, here's the problem with this right now, is that for them to go there, then they have to unravel the entire story of Hillary Clinton. They have to get to how she got here, which was by being an enabler to a sexual predator. She made a deal with her husband. They have to unravel this entire powerful feminist narrative if they want to go there, which is why I don't believe even Tapper will go there right now.
If you make it a yes or no question and you pin her down and she refuses to answer it, that's a real bad day for Hillary Clinton.
And I want to say something here. I mean, I was smiling when I said something about the 99.5-yard touchdown return, but I was talking about media bias there mostly right now. This is a very serious topic, which I do take seriously. I have a daughter who's going to college next year, so it's not something I'm dismissive or flippant about. But what the Clinton campaign is doing here is they're chasing after social media hashtags right now. They're trying to piggyback on the Black Lives Matter stuff. They're trying to piggyback on all this campus sexual assault stuff. But the campus sexual assault stuff is not just about sexual assault. It's turned into this weird thing. Ash Scow at the Washington Examiner has done a lot of intense work about this in the last year. She actually did a couple specials for PJTV where she talked about it too. There's this assault on the due process of college-age males right now too. They're not just going after First Amendment rights. They're going after due process. And that's what she's piggybacking on that right now. And so this is a very, very intense issue right now that's getting out of control on campus, and she's just giving it a blanket approval.
The substance of what she said should be challenged. Not every survivor of sexual assault deserves to be heard, believed, and supported. Because you know what? You have to figure out that you have the right guy. You have to figure out that it actually happened, because the facts actually matter. Sometimes people do make it up. It might not be a majority of cases, but Duke lacrosse did occur. You have people like Susan Smith. Well, that wasn't a sexual assault, but that was a crime that she falsely reported. There are people that are cuckoo. There are people that, for whatever reason, decide to make things up and decide to put out false allegations against totally innocent people. So you need to figure out that what they're saying is true, because the person they're accusing also has rights. And as I couldn't agree with your comments about the Black Lives Matter protesters more, because you now have this dynamic going on with all of these cop shootings. Whenever there's any kind of incident that happens between a black teenager and a police officer, we just are supposed to side against the cop just without knowing what happened. Well, sometimes there are legit shootings. Sometimes there's legitimate violence between police officers and people. If the guy pulls a gun on the cop or goes for the cop's gun or is doing what they aren't supposed to do, then sometimes the police officer has to act. Scott, are you as concerned about this as I am, that due process is just a thing of the past?
Yes, I am. But in this case, I think that the main storyline here is that in this country, if you're rich and white and powerful and connected, you will not be called on the carpet for, essentially raping and sexually assaulting people in your circle of influence. And I think that a due process, Bill Clinton deserves due process. Let's have that happen. Instead of pillorying this woman who brings forth the accusation and essentially chasing her from the public square and saying she has no right to make that accusation. I think that this statement that Hillary Clinton made is damning for her, and she better prepare an answer for it, because I don't think Bernie Sanders is going to ask the question. I don't think Martin O'Malley is going to ask the question. But when she gets the Democratic nomination and they get to that general debate before next November's election, they give each candidate an opportunity to ask a question. If our candidate's a guy like Ted Cruz, who's an attorney, I could see him asking that question of Hillary Clinton.
I could see Donald Trump going there, too.
Here's why I don't think it's going to stick, because Teddy Kennedy drowned the staffer he was having an affair with and became one of the lions of the Democratic Party. And the press enabled that, the Democrats enabled. There's just this, they don't care. I mean, when Scott was describing right now, if you're rich, white, connected, and powerful, you can get away with, I don't know how many Kennedys you were even talking about right there. And that's not a joke. I mean, how many of them have even been accused of this right now?
If you haven't seen it yet, you should go Google a thing that National Lampoon did back in the 1970s. It was a one-page poster cartoon, and it was called The Delegate from Chappaquiddick. And it showed the Democratic convention with Teddy Kennedy up there giving a speech, and in the aisle there was this skeleton covered with seaweed and a sign that said Chappaquiddick. What I'm asking is, where are the liberal satirists who will go there on Hillary Clinton now?
All right, that's all the time we have for today, but now it's your turn. Can Hillary credibly run on women's issues, or are there too many discarded women in the Clinton family past? Let us know your thoughts in the comment section below. I'm John Phillips. Thanks so much for watching The Rundown.